So I'm going to present to you my lazy programmer's guide to HTML tables in Dancer2. I'll just talk a short bit about me and where I come from, and then just go over hand coding HTML tables in template toolkit, adding data tables to that, and then using JSON data source with data tables, adding a bit of styling to the tables, and some table exporting options. So about me, my name is Jason Lewis. I have a wholesale distribution business in Australia, somewhat a jack of all trades, not an expert in Perl or Dancer, so if there's some faux pas in here, bear with me.
Speak a little louder.
A bit louder? Yeah, sure, sorry. Contact details, find me on any of those. So why am I doing this? Over the years in my business I've written a bunch of reports in Crystal Reports. Crystal Reports is a proprietary tool and has its own issues, and I wanted something that would be a bit more web accessible for these reports. Typically the reports I write are just like tables of figures from our accounting system. So Crystal Reports, as I said, is the existing thing. The benefit of it is very quick to write reports in Crystal Reports. It's quite easy to customize them, make them look exactly how you want them. Downside, as I said, it's a proprietary tool. Distribution of the reports is a bit tricky with Crystal, and not easy to put them on the web, and it's a Win32 only thing. So why did I choose Dancer2? I looked around and tried a few web frameworks. Dancer2 seemed to be, or Dancer community seemed to be really good, so I thought I'd just go with that. It seemed great. So the first sort of thing I did was just hand coding tables in template toolkit. I just made a route, selected data from a database and just feed it into a template like that. And then in a template, just simple, just step through and build a table, HTML table. Very basic. And just to show you what it looks like. So this is just some sample database I found somewhere, but just you get a huge table, can be somewhat cumbersome to use, especially if there's a lot of rows. Can't do much with it. But that's very simple to write, obviously, and as I said, static. Anyway, so you can add data tables to it fairly easily. Just go over what data tables is. It's a JavaScript framework for manipulating HTML tables on web pages. It's, from what I gather, it's about 136K additional load on your page, so that could be a problem for some. And you can see the website. It's just datatables.net if you want more info about it. So to use it, you just need to include the data tables style sheet in your I included in the layout, and also the jQuery data tables script is included. And then you need to just, in your view, you need to tell data tables which table, which div, CSS ID of the table that you want to apply it to. And obviously you need to put the ID in the table like that. And then I'll show you what that looks like. So now we have a data tables enabled table. It's got sortable columns. Yeah. How's that? Better, more? Yeah, so sortable columns. You can. It also puts this paging thing in, so you can page through. You can change the length of the thing. So it's pretty easy just to enable that. You can make the table become searchable. So narrow the view down. So this was very handy for my users. They liked the table straight away once I started. Well, liked the reports once I started using that. Benefits of that, it's very configurable, and because you're hand coding HTML, you can generate it just how you like. Easy to put custom CSS IDs on the rows and columns for formatting. Some downside is that it's hard to reuse that code. I had to rewrite a table for every single report I wanted to generate. And changes to the data structure meant I'd have to go back and update the table generator. So an alternative is using JSON with data tables. It has the ability to read the data from a JSON URL. So you just build an HTML header, table header in your page, pass it a URL of that will return some JSON data, and data tables retrieves that data and fills the table. So in your view, you need to have this little bit of code which you pass in the columns you want to render, and you build a HTML table header out of those columns, essentially, and then you you have to set the ID of the table here, and then you tell data tables you want to apply it to that ID here. Make sense? And then in your view, then you need an API that will return the data to put into that table. So very simply, just query the database, tell it what you make a JSON object with columns of the data and the actual rows from your query. And then, oops. So that you saw that loaded very quickly. That's straight from code like I just showed you. And it has all the same kind of features as before. Sortable, whatever. In this particular example, I'm just doing 4 columns, but that's essentially it.
That's in your code. Can you show that code for this?
Yep.
So I noticed that you're using send as JSON. I was just wondering if that was more comfortable than like return to JSON.
Oh. So in my actual app I wrote, I have a separate Dancer app which returns everything as JSON.
Okay.
But for the example, I just did this, and I didn't know of any other way, so I did it that way. Is that not a good way?
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay. So yeah, in my actual app, I have a separate API app that's just JSON. This is just for the example.
Yep.
So the benefit of that, it's very easy to reuse that code. I can use that view for any report. Just basically hand it different data URL. Page response very fast for the user. Even if the data takes a while to load, they feel like something's happening because they get a web page that loads straight away. Downside is you need to write an API route to return the data. It's more difficult to customize the resulting HTML table because you've got one for all of your views. And adding custom CSS to the rows probably requires more JavaScript or something to do that. So styling of the table. Data tables comes with CSS. And as an example, you can easily add a class of DT left or DT right to the columns to align the data left or right in the columns like this. So we just added, from before we had our column definition here, we just added a class name for that column. So it'll get DT right or DT left. And that so if I compare it with the old one, you can see the columns are all left aligned, but the new one, you can see the columns now follow the head. Is this working? Oh yeah, follow that's right aligned, left aligned, etc. Make sense? And I didn't really go into, or I kind of did. This one here, you can see, you can also add a title to the column. And there you can see the title billing address as opposed to billing address with no space, which is the column name. And there's other properties you can set. The type. Oh, that's what I was trying to explain. Yeah, so you can set title for a column, or whether it's visible or not, or name. And there's a bunch of others just worth looking into if you want to do more things. Problem with that approach is putting a bit of the formatting into the API data view, and I haven't really resolved how to deal with that yet, but there's probably a better way to do it. So as soon as I showed this to my users, they were like, great, that's awesome, but how can we export it? We need to export it to Excel. But luckily, Data Tables makes that very easy. It has what they call a buttons component that provides the functionality to do that. It's basically some more CSS and JavaScript you add to your project. You need to install this PDF Make tool. I'm not familiar with these JavaScript tools, but I think this is a JavaScript installer thing, and it installs this PDF Make for you. And then you need to add some more CSS to your view or to your layout, and add the JavaScript for the buttons and for this PDF Make device. And then in the back where we were building the header of the table, we need to also include this JavaScript, which this part here tells Data Tables what features you want on the page. It's like the L here means the little button that tells Data Tables how many rows you want visible on your page, for instance. And that the buttons part is saying we want a copy button, CSV button, Excel button, PDF button, and a print button. The PDF one has a lot of other options, so that's why it's in that form. How's the time going? Oh, anyway, I think I'm going very fast. Yeah, so now you can see we've got these buttons up here, and you can just copy to the clipboard or download a CSV of the data, open it in your preferred document viewer, just like that. And this particular feature, my users were just like that. It's so awesome. It just saved them so much time over Crystal reports. And then also PDF of it, and this PDF generated in the browser, which blew my mind. But so just PDF, whatever you want, or print it, whatever. Yeah, so that's exporting. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to present to you. The formatting in the API route, I don't really like that, and I haven't exactly found a solution, but I think I could probably put it in the main route rather than the API route. Formatting of numbers is a bit tricky, and I haven't worked out a good way to do that. Like the dates come out like this, and if I just want to show the date, I don't know quite where to do that formatting of it yet. And similarly with rounding of floats, for some reason our database stores like financial numbers as floats. I have no idea why, but yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, so it's always like I've got to do loads of fiddling around to round the numbers to like 2 decimal places. And yeah, that's basically what I do with Dancer2 and data tables for in-house reporting. Thanks for listening.